Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. I will be showing you how to install Metasploitable 3 toolboxes, the Ubuntu 14 and Windows 2008 on your VMware. So let's get started. In here I have attached to the description of this tutorial these lists in order for you to prepare your environment. So the first thing you need to do is to reset your VMware virtual network settings. Let me show you how do you do this. In VMware, you go to Edit, Virtual Network Editor. Let me drag this here, and you go to Change Settings. And you choose Restore Defaults. This is a very important step that you need to perform before you proceed with this tutorial. Note that in order for this to work, you actually have to have all your VMs shut down. If you have one VM that's up, you won't be able to restore the defaults for your VMware Virtual Network Editor. So make sure you shut down all your VMs before you do this and then restore the defaults. Alright, now it's finished. Restore the default. Click OK. One thing I want you to see in here is that I have two virtual machines that are Metasploitable 3. I actually left them in here on purpose because I wanted to show you how to clean up any installations that are corrupted or not working or even working from before if you want to do a clean install. So I left them there on purpose. Second thing is we need to download and install some tools. So we'll start with Vagrant. Let me show you in here. So you go to vagrantapp.com, you download the 64-bit and you install it. The installation is very easy. I've already installed it. Just, straightforward. Once you finish this, you go to the next link, which is the vagrant-vmware utility installation. Again, I have provided these links in the description of the video, and you download the utility and go ahead with the installation. Next, you go and download Packer. Packer does not require any installation, but we will need this file. We're going to extract it and place it in a specific folder. And the last thing we want to download is to go to Rapid7 GitHub repository, Metasploitable 3, and go ahead, click code, download zip, and this should download a file that's called Metasploitable3-master.zip for you. So now we have this file, we have the Packer, and there's the vagrant file that I have provided to you. Please download it in this folder. Now the next step, what we're going to do is unzip this file, Metasploitable3-master. So when we unzip it, it actually creates a folder that's called Metasploitable3-master. This is by default. So this folder is created and the files are unzipped here. You go ahead and copy the Packer that you have downloaded earlier, extract it and copy it to this exact same folder, and you copy the vagrant file that I have provided to you in this exact folder. Let me show you what's in this vagrant file. So in here you can see there are two boxes defined. We have the Rapid7 Ubuntu 14.04 and then we have the Rapid7 Metasploitable 3 Windows 2008. So these are in this vagrant file configuration. Next, what we want to do is start a PowerShell, run it as an administrator. It's important that you run this PowerShell as an administrator, and we will pick up the installation in here. So this, let me just go back in here. What I've just showed you cover these steps: downloading Vagrant, the Vagrant VMware utility, the Packer, the Metasploitable master zip, and unzip it in here, copy the Packer and copy the Vagrant file that I have provided and start PowerShell as an administrator. So let's get started. This is the environment setup. Let's get started with the installation. Alright, so next we will start the installation process, but first we will do a couple of things. Make sure that the VMware plugin is installed and to clean up any boxes or installation that we have had previously. one thing to note here is to make sure that you see administrator Windows PowerShell. So you're running this PowerShell session with administrative privilege. So right click when you're running it, right click and choose run as administrator. Go into this folder and let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is to install the plugin, the vagrant-vmware-desktop plugin. And desktop, okay. So Vagrant plugin install, Vagrant VMware desktop. Give it a minute to install. Alright, now we have 3.0.1 installed. Next, we want to ensure that we don't have any boxes that are defined for Vagrant. So we go with Vagrant box list. Alright, it's very important that when you do Vagrant box list, you don't see any machines in here. You might be seeing Win2K8, you may be seeing Ubuntu 14.04, you may be seeing different providers, so VirtualBox or VMware Desktop. You should remove these before you proceed with the installation. It's very important, even if they are VirtualBox provider for these machines, you can't proceed with this installation because Vagrant will always default to the boxes that were added earlier. You probably have some boxes there here, especially if you have tried to install Metasploitable 3, whether through VirtualBox or VMware, you will find some boxes in here. It's very essential that you remove them. I actually left this box on purpose to show you how to remove it. So to remove this box, let me clear the screen and run the box list again in order to copy the name. So to remove the box, you use vagrant box remove, and then you copy the name. And then you specify the provider. So in my case, provider VMware _ desktop. With your machine, there could be another provider, VirtualBox. There could be a couple of other machines, Ubuntu 14.04, and so on. It removed the box. Sometimes it will give you a warning saying that, you know, if you remove this box, maybe your environment will be corrupted. Still destroy the environment, remove this box. It's very important before you proceed that when you say vagrant box list, that there is nothing in there. Perfect. This is what you want to see before proceeding. There are no installed boxes. Perfect. So now we want to start the installation process. I will clear the screen. And first we want to make sure that you have the vagrant file copied to this folder, the vagrant file that I provided to you. And let's add first these two boxes, the boxes that we want to install. So vagrant box add, and then we have rapid 7. I think I do have it in here, yes. Windows 2008, and my provider is VMware Desktop. So I'm adding the first box to Vagrant. adding the box and downloading. It will take some time. It's for Windows, it's 0.1.0. I think the one for Ubuntu is 12. So I will pause the recording until the download finishes because it's downloading the box from the website. We will pick up once the download completes. While it's downloading, let me show you what happened to the two VMs that I had in VMware. So I had this VM that was removed, and then I have this VM that was removed. When I click on it, it says I cannot find it. So I'll go ahead and remove. I had this VM because I did remove them from Vagrant, so it says I can't find this VM. I'll go ahead and remove. And now once we add the boxes and Vagrant up, the two boxes should appear in here. I'll go back to pausing this recording until the download finishes. Alright, so the download has just finished. I added this first box. I will do the same for our second box, and that will be Ubuntu 14.04. Again, it will go to the Vagrant Cloud website and start downloading. That was quick. Alright, so yeah, 0.1, 0.12 and 0.1.0, two different updates for the Win 2K8 and the Ubuntu 14.04. Perfect, so we will be waiting for the download now. I will go ahead and pause the recording until the download finishes. Alright, as you can see, the box has been successfully added. So now we have two boxes. Just to make sure, we go ahead and background box list. Perfect. I do see both boxes in here and the provider is VMware Desktop. Just as a reminder, if the first time you've been following this tutorial, you issued vagrant box list and you had some boxes from before, for a clean install, you must have to remove them and destroy the environment, delete, remove these boxes and start with a fresh install. So now, perfect, we have the boxes added. We are ready to vagrant up these machines. Alright, so in this part, let's first clear the screen and start with a vagrant up, and our provider is VMware Desktop. This should bring up the first machine and then the second machine. So bringing machine Ubuntu 14.04 up and Windows 2008. It's starting with Ubuntu. So this is the first machine. I'll go ahead and pause the recording until this process completes. As you can see in here, it's still running. So I press and enter for an update. It's starting the VMware VM, waiting for the VM to receive an address. Are we still with the Ubuntu? Yes. Don't panic if you see connection reset retrying. It could take a couple of times or retries. Machine booted and ready. Perfect. All looks good. So if I go in here, oh, it's still setting hostname. All right. Again, I pressed and enter just to see the update. I did set the host name. It's configured the adapter. We are with the we are setting up the Win2K8 now. Again, don't panic if you get a couple of warnings in here. I'll press and enter to see an update. So this part is done by VMware, forwarding the ports. I'll go ahead and pause the recording until this finishes. Right, so it just finished. It did take some good amount of time, although the machine did not boot, but everything else seems okay. So let's go ahead and boot the machines. All right, so the installation finished here. The machines did not boot. I will go ahead and run them manually. I'll go to my Explorer. In here, go to Vagrant Machines. Let's go to Ubuntu VMware Desktop. This is my previous machine that I have destroyed and removed. And then I'll go to the VMX file and double click. If I open this machine, I should be able to log on to Ubuntu with Vagrant account. Perfect. And then I'll do the same for my Windows 2008 machine. And that would be the VMX file. There you go. It's up and running. Let's log in. Perfect. So it's asking for activation. The first time you log in, the best thing to do is to say ask me later and immediately go to the PowerShell and renew your license. And you do that through, excuse me, here, yes. SLM manager, SLM-GR, license manager /VARM. So now you have your license renewed and it asks you to restart the system. Okay. We still need to restart the system. The first message I clicked on, it was not for the restart, was just for the VMware tools. So it did not take the SLM manager rearm. I'll go ahead now and restart it. While it's doing this, I'll go ahead with my Kali Linux machine, fire it up. I want to make sure that I can ping and even scan these two machines, that these are the two vulnerable Metasploitable machines. And at the same time, I will log in here to check that we're not getting the activation request again. Let's take a note of the IP configuration. I'll write it down. So this is the IP that I'm looking for. It's 192.168.19.128. I'm writing it down because I want to scan it from my Kali Linux. And I will check my Windows machine. See, now it's not asking you for a license because you run the license manager SLM-GR/VR. Let me check the IP address. Okay, so this is the IP address I'm looking for, and it's 129. So .129. I'll go back to my Kali machine. I want to see the Kali machine IP address, so it's 130. Okay, so what I want to do just to scan the both machines, Ubuntu and Windows 2008. So let me clear in here and do an mmap. I want a TCP connect scan, and the IP is 192.168.19.128 for my Ubuntu. Is to make sure that this is actually the vulnerable machine fully set up properly. So I can see the services that are opened in there, and I know these are the ones that are opened on Ubuntu, and there's communication between the Kali machine and the Ubuntu machine. I'll do the same for my Metasploitable 3, Windows 2008, and that was 129. Okay, so it is set up properly. We were able to communicate with it and scan for open ports and services. This brings me to the end of this tutorial. I hope you will be able to set up your Metasploitable 3, Windows 2008 and Ubuntu. And if you have any questions, send them to me. Thank you for listening and see you next time.